Okay guys, here's the situation. We have a lot of code from last tutorials and let's try to hack some things. See this protected area in a primary class? Okay, so let's try to get into here using secondary class. Like physically we are trying to not think about all these public private levels. We're just trying like forcefully get there. Can we do that actually? And let's delete this usage from last tutorial. So based on a secondary class, we're gonna create object, and object, when you type dot, you will try to get into name and set it to Michael, let's say Michael, I think, yeah, something like that, who cares. So when you try to run this stuff, there is error here. And error is name from a primary class is protected. Okay, fine. So some people will say, well, what's gonna happen if you change this thing to public? Maybe then that thing will be reachable. Well, let's test that. Like we are experimenting. And when we run this code, still we have a problem. That thing is still protected. Now some people will say, well, then change this thing to public, and will that thing work? Well, yeah, it will work, but then we are beating the whole purpose of inheritance and protection of code. Okay, so maybe we are trying to hide some code from these like secondary classes. Yes, this will work. Let's actually test that. Okay, we don't have any kind of stuff on the screen because we are not calling method dedicated for printing results with which is in secondary class print name. So let's do that. Will we have a result? Object dot print name without parameters, of course, and we'll have Michael on screen. Okay, that will work, but as I said, this is extremely stupid way of handling things. So how to get around? Well, let's go to like normal stages from last tutorial. This public was private, and this thing was protected. So we are leaving things as they are and hacking things around. Well, how? Here's the situation. Inside the secondary class, you will do that hack. So how? Inside the public section, you're gonna say what is target. Target is primary class. Okay, so let's say primary class, and you're gonna use scopes to get into name. Yes, I do know that it's blue now and it looks inaccessible, but when you type that thing, okay, and down there when you try to like use it, you will get your result. So see, it works. Now what is the difference? The difference is that we are not changing this thing and we are not changing that thing. So this is like that kind of hack with scopes. Right, so some people will say, okay, fine. So what about using, let's say, this like method? Can we use that through secondary class? Well, let's try to do that. So here, object dot and direct print. Will that thing work? Well, no, because direct print is inaccessible. It is inside the public section, okay? But it's still inaccessible. So some people will say, fine, let's just change this thing to public. Will that work? Well, let's test that. Public. And now the thing will work. But then again, then you're beating the whole purpose of protection, which is kind of stupid. So let's go to like normal operation. It was private. Okay. So what is the moral of the story here? The moral of the story is do not complicate your life if you don't have to, okay? So don't try to like use methods from primary classes if they are like half locked. If in the secondary class you have dedicated class to do stuff, then what's the purpose of reaching into primary class? There is a reason why you have code in a secondary class, right? So just use that. Because the moment when you start thinking about I'm gonna go one level back and one level back and such a thing, definitely you're gonna end up in errors. Because this is C++ and you have 3 access levels. And if your code is 5,000 lines long, well, you need a lot of vodka to handle the situation. So anyway, the moral of the story here is if you end up into this kind of situation, you want to hack your way around, just use this scoping here, okay, and then you can hard code stuff down there. So let me see, do I have anything else here to say? Well, yeah, let's try. Some people say, well, what about using this tertiary method? Well, you can't, because this is actually setter. So this thing is not printing stuff on a screen. Okay, this is just a setter. So no, you cannot use it. Right, so that's pretty much it. The moral of the story, as I said, if you have a secondary class, if you have a reason for it, then use those things from there. Okay, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. See you next tutorial.